Hello. Oh. Hello, everybody. And again, hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to the 28th TouchDesigner Roundtable. As you can see, we're here guest of Elastique. Thank you for the very generous invite. And as you may have noticed, we don't have a bar because they're even more generous and the drinks are on the house today. Thank you for that. Elastique is an international brand communication agency and based in Cologne. But since 2 years, they have also this dependency here in Berlin. And they've been so nice to move out the chairs, bring in the other chairs so we can be here. And without further big words, I will give the stage to Elastique, who's going to talk about the immersive and interactive projects they do and how they integrate TouchDesigner into that. And we're very curious to hear about that. Thank you.
Hello. Hello Berlin. Thank you very much for having us actually, because it's really the first time we do something here. We were kind of sneaking into the city and we're here since 1.5 years. And I brought with me Lisa Marleen from our team and TIMO, who's here from the Berlin team. And we're going to tell you a bit about Elastique and then some projects, but more from kind of the creative side, how we use TouchDesigner as creatives, because we are not kind of native developers, but to tell you a bit about kind of the accessibility and how we use it in projects. So we just start, I think. So for those who don't know us, you can name it a creative agency for brand and innovation communication. So sometimes we say we make the boring a bit less boring, ideally. And we're 18 years old since November. It's a bit long. I founded it together with my wife Betty, and she's now professor for cross-media design in Wiesbaden. And but we still run the company with a super nice team. And we're 45 people at the moment in Cologne. Then here we have a few people, then 3 in Munich. And of course, we collaborate massively kind of with the creative scene and especially creative coding, because we have only a few kind of technical directors internally, because I always felt I want to be like free in the choice of technology. But over the last years, for example, TouchDesigner became really one backbone of the projects that we do. But we still want to say some stuff we want to do in V4, WebGL, whatever, so that we can kind of collaborate then. And what do we do? So the fun part about it is really that we really like to do the complete process. So we're a lot working in consulting, working out like what people want to tell with the projects, and then we go into concept design and production. So we can really run mainly the complete pipeline, and what comes out is so we do brand exhibitions. And like one core thing is interactive digital / analog exhibits. And we do some of the object design too, so that we collaborate closely with our partners who build, for example, the exhibits. We do interactive applications, and then one big part is media animations, like large scale animations that you need for trade fairs or press conferences, or like 3D billboards and all that stuff. And the fun part is that 2 years ago, we founded kind of a little label. It's called WTF, together with the Bild- und Tonfabrik. And you might know them from the Netflix series, How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. They're located in Cologne too, then 110 people. And for us, it's super nice because we kind of connect like with real storytellers, so who are really like tell emotional stories and bring that together with the interactivity stuff. And so it's so nice because we can mix up the teams. Yeah, we brought a little kind of associatives showreel. Yeah, that's what we do. Thank you. And what we always try to do, since we started really as a digital design agency these 18 years ago and doing microsites and all that stuff, so we always try to kind of, as much as possibly, push the visual level. So, and this is, for example, where TouchDesigner comes in, because it's really kind of a backbone of our creative and technical process, because it's very fast to iterate with it and to prototype stuff. And so for us as creatives, when we develop interactive ideas, basically, we can test out very quickly some stuff. But then in the end, like for the final product, it's still super reliable, so that it sneaked in over the last years more and more, and so it becomes one part, and the other stuff we do a lot with Unreal and Unity, and so sometimes combine these three. So these are kind of the core pillars at the moment. Yeah, and we see where it develops. So yeah, we start with the first project, and Lisa Marlene is telling you a bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. Really nice to see so many of you today here. I'm going to tell you about a project of ours we did for Deutsche Telekom. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was really cool because it was a really important topic for us. It was about or setting a statement against online hate speech. And it was really cool that our client gave us the opportunity to work on that. So what we did is we created an immersive unhate space for them for the Mobile World Congress. I'm going to show you how that looked like. So here you can see the space we created, and we had this touchless interface we did with Leap Motion, and visitors were able to select some of the hateful tweets from a pre-selection we did, and unhate these messages containing hate. So they could choose between 3 different themes. We're going to see that in a minute. Yeah, create something more colorful, something more positive out of it. So they placed their hand inside of the ring, chose that, and we had one of the themes we called Playful, where we worked with VQ-GAN and text-to-image approach to transform. So we kind of took the hate speech, segmented the words, took only the nouns, and then transformed it into a text-to-image and into prompt, and created a zoom out of the visuals we created from that. So this is the playful approach. Then we also had one called progressive, which is this one. That one was created by Flo and Founder Vision, and it was all about deconstructing and exploding hate speech into many particles. And the last one was called Mindful, and we worked with cellular structure as an analogy to nature, reclaiming man-made structures, and in the same way we wanted to reclaim space online and fill it with positive messages instead of hate speech. After that, we played it, of course, in the immersive space, all the visuals, but we also reposted to the original tweet and unhated in that way the harmful message, And we decided to do it that way instead of working with counter-speech, for example. For us, that was a better approach. So this is the pipeline, but I'm only going to talk about some of the parts we use in the whole process. And the first one was probably the selection of the tweets we used. We were collaborating with the University of Cardiff and the Hate Lab, and they are doing some intense research on hate speech and hate crime online. And we worked one of their AI-backed processes to pre-select the tweets or the hate speech. But after that, we noticed that we kind of struggled to find the right ones and make them work for our visuals. So we also went in there with some human moderation, and we pre-selected some of the tweets we could use best. Then we also used TouchDesigner to lay out the original tweet. For example, eliminated the name of the author, changed the font sizes and the line spacing, for example. So that was one of the parts where we used it beforehand. And we also use it as a layouting tool to see the space before and make everything work and put everything together. But yeah, in the end, it was basically our main hub where everything was flowing together, and it brought everything together here in this part. We also had, for example, different workstations working on the deep learning approaches and creating our visuals. We also had to pre-render those since we noticed in the process it was just working better for just time-wise and rendering-wise. And then we had also a gallery PC. That one was cropping the images and playing it outside of the immersive space, since it was quite kind of enclosed. So you could have a teaser outside and also sending them to the repos, like I already said. So yeah, that's just like from a perspective. And I think this is also something we do often, that we kind of plan our tech setups in this way on huge boards, and then we iterate, and for us that's a kind of cool way of planning everything out. So yeah, thank you. I will hand over for the next project to TIMO.
Also a warm welcome from me. I'm going to show you a very short glimpse from our Reeperbahn Collide project, Reeperbahn Festival. And Collide is actually a YouTube format where we connect visual artists with bands. And I am the lucky one who can curate the artists. So I'm always kind of searching for new visual artists to collaborate with us, and each artist has one band and 3 songs to design in this amazing LED cave in Mannheim. One thing I definitely love about the TouchDesigner community, because it's always very connected, and it's always fun and super easy to get in touch with new great talents, so I really love that. And basically, what we are doing here is to we have a basic setup, a TouchDesigner setup that we use to where we can play out all the stuff in the LED cave. Why we are using TouchDesigner is because for visual artists, of course, it's quite easy to work in their toxes, and then we can implement them quite easily in our setup. So it's quite a nice pipeline to work with. And I'm showing you one of the clips.
The production is crazy. Really beautiful.
Super impressionnant. Like a painting almost.
How could you not have seen it coming? Lost all the slow, keep on a stride. Next slide. Ain't no bitch, I'm a mad Moselle. Ain't no bitch, I'm a mad Moselle. Now I wanna
So yeah, this is the space actually, and hopefully we're gonna do some more productions this year, and we're gonna need some more visual artists. So you have the chance to talk to me later. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hopefully it's okay for you that we just give you kind of little glimpses, etc. So feel free to approach us afterwards if you want to have more kind of insights. And of course, we are struggling. It's like sometimes it looks like if you're presenting stuff that it's all super easy. But yeah, this one I can tell you that there were some moments where we really struggled and tried to find in the team a solution to solve the stuff.
The communication of sustainable topics is becoming increasingly important for companies. Due to rising complexity of solutions and concepts, educating customers becomes a challenge. We wanted to define a new tonality for explanatory formats with an immersive experience. Simple gestures in the air ensure an intuitive and hygienic interaction and help to make the complex solutions of sustainability understandable for the visitor piece by piece. Together with the BMW Group, we help to explain key strategies for sustainability in a joyful and aesthetic way, while always focusing on the transfer of knowledge.
There was one example basically where we had to do kind of interactive and explanatory like exhibits to explain stuff as easy as possible. For example, what BMW is going to do to become kind of a circular car company, what they want to, hopefully, we kick them. This is where we really work intensively with the departments, like what do we want to say, and then we start like how can you make it as simple as possible for visitors to get it basically, and to find, and this time it was still kind of Corona time that we said like we need kind of the touchless interface. How do we do it that everyone knows immediately how to use it? Because using that, if some of you might have used for Leap Motion, basically that it's not always obvious how do I select stuff, etc. And we try to narrow that down to make it as simple as possible. TouchDesigner was more like playing some pre-rendered stuff and then laying stuff. So we use it in a kind of unusual way that you use it for kind of, very often we use notch codec as playback for pre-rendered stuff, and then we layer like interactive stuff or generative stuff on top of it. So we always try to choose like how do we achieve kind of the highest visual quality whilst providing basically a very good kind of user interface and user experience. And here you can see that, for example, like the LED walls here, they're really just kind of a playback wall, but all in a connected system. And these vertical screens were kind of the interactive part of it. So with different resolutions, because you have to get closer to it. And so we tried to implement that and build kind of a system that plays both rendered stuff, sometimes over all screens basically, that you get an overall impression, and sometimes as soon as you approach it interactively, it switches and changes kind of the focus and tells you the contents. That was one part of it that was actually pretty fun. You might know Journée here from Berlin. They were building kind of the metaverse based on Unreal, pixel streaming technology. It's Joytopia. And so we had the idea, how would it be? Because we love always kind of this intersection from the physical space into the digital one. And we said, like, what would it be if I grab into that metaverse and all the people being in the metaverse at that time could see me doing that? So we kind of do a little portal. And that was kind of even if it was a super little part of the whole project, there was really a big challenge. You know, here on the right side, you use that. Your hand became kind of a cloud that you could how to say, streuseln. You could streusel pretzels over the people in the metaverse, which was fun actually. And the people in the metaverse, there was kind of a circular rainbow that opened up a live stream to Munich, where you used it. Basically, they could see you and your hand streuseling pretzels into the metaverse. So it was more kind of a prototype. How would we connect these worlds? And it was technology-wise super complex, because as you might know, Unreal uses multiplayer systems, but there you have kind of these partitions where just 70 people can kind of interact immediately. And so we had to bring this hand in every partition of kind of 2,000 people being there at the same time. So you can do that, but with the video stream, you cannot ensure that it's sync, because the video would be streamed in a different way than the data via the multiplayer. And then Yanni, our developer, had the idea, what if I use TouchDesigner to encode the hand movement? Here you can see that, he tested it on Twitch actually. So to encode the movement of the leaf motion into binary code into the video. So we streamed the video, because there was an API, into Unreal in Johnny's system. And on the Unreal side, we built a blueprint that read the data from the video and then animated the hand again. So we ensured, since we were sending it over using video, that both was really in sync. And it was kind of a mindfuck, if I can say that, so how to do that. And here's like how we test that in the office. For example, you see kind of this image from the leap motion, and then the encoded part, basically all the movements of the skeleton of the hand basically into the image. And that gives you a bit of a glimpse how we try to kind of bend. So we have a goal. How do we get there? And you have to become really creative to try to play basically and check and ask a lot of people. This is, I think, the most important part in our job, knowing who to ask. And so we try to bring that together. Yes, the last one is, and then we're done already, is kind of pretty fresh and new because we just showcased it last week. It ended last week. It's Mirror Me. It's a self-driven project from Elastique that we wanted to do for the Passage, which is kind of a design festival. And we were really lucky, and sometimes you just have to have luck a bit, that some things fall into each other. So we got the approval that we could do kind of this robotic installation, that we had the idea into a church, and so we got the approval. It's not used anymore, and so we could do that there, and I show you what it is basically. That was actually, the idea came last year when I said to myself basically, so we're all like dealing with digital stuff all the time, like mirroring ourselves with mobile phones, with everything. And since we're doing kind of interactive applications since nearly, 20 years, whatever, it's always funny for me to see, like, we humans, we love to see ourselves in different contexts, like always, like, you know, these old websites where you could upload your face and it's in a different context and you laugh about that, and the Weihnachtself and all that stuff. And so I was always wondering, like, why do we love ourselves so much to see us? I want to see me. I want to know who I am. So I said, like, how could I build kind of the absolutely ultimate echo chamber of myself? And so the idea came that we use robots having these mirrors, and you step in between, and you see yourself. And it's kind of, it's not a criticism. It's more like a comment on that trend, basically. But the fun part was that we used TouchDesigner. So it recorded every experience with 3 cameras, and 20 seconds after you got a download with the video of your experience that you could share again. And of course, then the cycle starts again. And it was kind of the fun part, but it was a great project that we did together with the team. I can show you how that kind of the TouchDesigner part worked. So when you approached it, you could scan the QR code, and then you have kind of a waiting screen. It's kind of a refreshing little website, and then you go into this experience, and you experience it yourself. Experience happening. afterwards. And then 20 seconds later, you could download it and save it to your roll or share it or whatever. And that was kind of seamless, and that was pretty cool. With TouchDesigner, I was with David, who did the development on that, and he showed me that we used NDI cameras. It's the 3 ones where you see this little thing, because we didn't have, for the screenshot, cameras connected, but it was really dragging it in. You immediately got the NDI format. I don't know if you know, it's like video signal over Ethernet, basically. And we could stream it directly into these nodes. Then we saved every stream of every experience for later documentation stuff, etc., like separately. And then it was fun. This switch basically did kind of a little edit that we planned of these 3 cameras. And this switch, then we flipped it basically, and then it was saved as the final little video. We added another audio track because it was differently from the live experience, and then uploaded it. And yeah, that was actually interesting, because this little switch, we had a little edit list basically for each camera, where you say like at frame 800 you switch to camera 3, at frame 1300 you switch back to camera 1. And so we had 4 experiences or different sequences, so everyone had this little edit list. And so this is, and it was really straightforward to do that with TouchDesigner, so that was the part where we used it in that project. The initial streaming of the robot data, we did not use TouchDesigner. We made a Python script basically, so that we could stream kind of text data with all the Bogenmaß Winkel to the robots basically, and it was pretty nice how they interpreted that. Yeah, that was a super quick run through like how we approach projects. Hopefully it was not too superficial basically, and things like that come out. Thank you so much. And nice that you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having us here and for this insightful presentation. Now we're interested, do you have any questions to Elastique? If you have, I will pass you the microphone so that people on the stream can also hear. Let's see how that works. Maybe you guys can just pass the microphone.
Hi, good evening. First of all, thanks for having us. I had a question that came up during the Deutsche Telekom presentation, but as you presented, it developed. It seems like there's a huge range of projects that you're doing, where you have, because you mentioned in the Deutsche Telekom project that you also collaborated with flora and fauna visions, who themselves are a force in this space. And with this project, you're using these robotic arms here. So in a studio like this, it must be difficult to have people who are capable of developing things for such a range of projects. So I'm just wondering, how important is external collaboration to your studio, and how does that work, basically?
Yeah, so what I always say, like communication and all these topics became so complex that I deeply, and the complete team, we're deeply thinking in collaboration. So the agency who says, and you approaches you, yeah, we can do everything for you or whatever, and we do it all ourselves, I would immediately fire them. So no, what we say is also, like, for example, BMW are super complex projects with very different like partners doing this huge stuff. So first of all, as I said, we don't have kind of internal development, or not many, so we have like 3 to 4. We kind of perhaps building kind of a creating coding team, so if someone's interested, approach us. So because we want to be really technology agnostic, basically. So it's more about that we have people like Yanni, David, me, Toby, where we say like we have a very good gut feeling, a lot of experience, what technology could fit perfectly. And then, as I said, I start calling friends, whatever. So we work very often. We hand over jobs to friends companies like Artificial Rome, NSYNC. We work a lot with. So it's really kind of a community, and I don't think in competition or like, yeah, I want to have that for me, you know. So what we try is to, if we cannot do it internally, with smaller projects, we work with freelance partners. But with bigger ones, sometimes we approach, for example, NSYNC, and we sit together with Eno and say like, okay, this is the budget. How do we like split it basically. So you have to talk very openly about numbers, because otherwise you cannot like commit yourself on that. And it's not about everyone knows, if you have the right people, that you have to earn some money and the others too. So we have to find a solution. Okay, do we go the risk with that technology? Because very often, of course, we're pushing technology, and I always say my job is to make sure that we jump here, but not here, you know, so that we jump to the border and push it. But of course, we have to deliver, because it's not art projects where perhaps whatever you can postpone stuff or so. But you have, for example, a press conference of a huge company, and it's the day. There's no like, oh yeah, we didn't make it, can we do it tomorrow? So this is why we talk very openly, and like over the years, develop this trust with our partners, be it freelance or be it like companies. Große Acht we collaborate a lot with in terms of development, you know. But kind of the concept part, the technical planning and the design part is very, very closely in the Elastique scope, basically, because this is why we try, like because like this is the reason why we hopefully can get like huge clients basically to make innovative stuff, because we try to encourage them and to be brave at a certain amount. So I was really thankful to Deutsche Telekom that they said, when we said, hey, let's do something about hate speech, because you're active in that field anyways, but we do it at a Mobile World Congress, which is a professional mobile trade fair. So it's like, normally you would say, oh, why should we talk about hate speech on a tech convention? So, and they were brave, because they said, like, yeah, it's cool because it's important how people use our technology. And so this is what we try to encourage. And perhaps that we can say, we open the creative processes to our partners that we work with, but to our clients completely. So we have a lot of like Miro boards. Everyone can look into it all the time. It's not going into the black box, basically, and after 3 weeks, the agency comes back and says, we thought about that, and you're totally wrong. If you want, you can watch the project starting, and it has two advantages. First, you avoid running 2 weeks in the wrong directions, and in the timings we work, 2 weeks is a lot. And the second is, you start working with clients. It's not it's like you try to tackle stuff, and it's fun for them too, so they love that, you know. It's like, you know, and this is kind of how we tick, basically. Hope that answered it a bit.
I think we can squeeze in at least one more question. And I really like that you say there is no competition. I think that's a very good credo.
Ideally, I hope it's like that if we don't have much jobs too. So I would believe that the partners we work with, that we, even if there's not much to do, we would even share. But very often when we, for example, are somewhere and someone says, okay, there are these exhibits to do, we say like, oh, this is perfect for Große Acht because they're more in physical computing. We are more kind of the digital space, you know. It's like, let people do the stuff what they can do best. And yeah, but it's trust, and if someone disappoints you one time, okay, then it's the last time you work together. You know, it's like, that's life.
Yeah, I have two questions. Thanks for everything first. Very interesting. The Telekom and the BMW projects, how many times are they displayed? Are these projects traveling the world? Too many trade shows? That's one question. And the other one is, what's the pre-roll? When do these companies approach you?
So I can say kind of the average like interactive project is between 2.5, 3 months to 6 months. So that's like most of the projects are running in this time span, right? So so it's not long, but it's not short too. So it's okay. And very often we try to guide as an agency people who work with us, because of course, if you're in the marketing and you never worked with whatever, a MetaQuest 3 or something like that, you don't know this technology and what does it mean to design for it. And so we always try to really take the hand and explain that. So this is why hopefully the people are kind of trust. And for example, the Telekom project, we said it's an experimental project because for the 3 like unhate modes that we developed, we put on like always like 2 people, and one was a flora fauna basically, who were really freely developing, kind of using AI to design it. And we said like it can work, but it's a prototype. The Telekom, it could happen that's really sucking, is not looking well, and then we have to decide what we do. So, And this you have to communicate very openly. And if you have kind of a track record, hopefully they go with you, you know, it's like that's the thing. And the second one is we try, what I always say, having a good interactive experience, you can explain it in 2 sentences. It's like with good cinema movies, like this old saying, like say, like what, for example, an alien comes to the Earth and a little boy helps him to get away. It's E.T., you know, it's like this, the core idea of E.T. And this is how we try to do these interactions too, that we find kind of a very short description basically to get the idea of this exhibit. For example, with the unhate is we're unhating speech by transforming it into images and thereby like taking out the hate context and then reposting it. That was kind of the fun idea that we said like, oh, I just unhated your hate post. You didn't ask me, but I did. And then if you have this idea, and then I come to your question, can you reuse it? We found out if you have this very short idea, you can do it. Unhate you can do on a laptop, you can do it in an immersive space. So we had it at MWC, it's this immersive space, but then in the summer after we had it at the Equal Esports Festival just on a 16:9, and you had kind of a kind of laser pointer style how you used it. So the principle you could easily like adapt to different formats, and this is what I believe. We have other exhibits that are used over time in different scales, or they tour a bit. So because we always see it's very expensive to develop them, and if you show clients, okay, if you have that very precise and clear idea, then you can reuse it over and over again, then they are willing to invest in it a bit more.
Of course, it would be very cool to have more questions, but we're running a bit out of time, and we want to give you the opportunity also to talk to Andreas, to Lisa Marleen, to TIMO, to Daniel in person, and that's why we need to go into our social break right now. Again, reminder, the drinks are you just take them. Maybe one last thing, egoistic from the Node Institute, we want to let you know that we have at the moment 3 desks at our shared studio in the Wipperstraße. And if any of you has an interest to share the space with us, to hang out with us, to work with us, please talk to us or talk to me. And after the break, we will be back with the presentation of Andrey YAMKOVOY. He's working with a Ukrainian company called Front Pictures. They also work international. They do very exciting projects, and they recently opened their in-house media server Screenberry to the public, and he's going to introduce us to Screenberry and how you can integrate TouchDesigner into this quite accomplished software. Thank you. And hello, dear folks, visitors of the TouchDesigner Roundtable. I hate to interrupt your conversations, but that's what I have to do now. Because we're going to continue with the next presentation. Hier muss mal wieder Schäferhund von hinten machen. Okay, we continue with the next presentation. Wir machen jetzt gleich weiter. Bitte Platz nehmen. I'm sorry, but we continue. We would like to continue with the next presentation. Sorry für die Unterbrechung, wir machen jetzt weiter. Wir machen jetzt weiter. Schäferhund. Weiter geht's. Sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna continue. Okay, we're going to continue with the next presentation, so I would be kind if you would sit down. Ach so. Ja, dann mach's jetzt gleich. Mach's jetzt gleich.
There's one thing I totally forgot. So we continue now, but I wanted to say thank you to Kim, who came extra from Cologne to organize everything together with Daniel, TIMO, and the complete team, so that they like put everything away, all the tables and all that stuff. So thank you very, very much for doing this.
And thank you, Andreas, for focusing the attention. So now I have the happy duty to introduce Andrey YAMKOVOY. He's working with Front Pictures, an Ukrainian company that I think has an incredible competence in big screens, especially domes, and they also are the people behind the Screenberry media server, which also features a very interesting TouchDesigner integration. And Andrew is going to give us an overview over the company, the software, and how it could be interesting for people working with TouchDesigner. Thank you for coming, Andrey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andrey YAMKOVOY. I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I'm a head of research and development department in Front Pictures company. Today, I will talk about Screenberry and TouchDesigner, but before the start, I want to ask you one question. Please raise your hand if you know what is Screenberry, or at least heard about it. Okay, that's interesting. So for many other people, I hope you will find something interesting in my today's talk. So let's start. Okay, so just for beginning, I will tell you a few words about Front Pictures. Okay. So our company as I said, called Front Pictures. It was founded in 2003 in Kiev, Ukraine, and now it's actually like about 40 people on board. It consists of digital artists, creative technologists, software developers. But let me show you how everything begins. Actually, in 2003, the company was started as the computer graphics and visualization studio. We created like photoreal 3D visualizations of different things. And then in 2005, we were asked to make video content for quite big screen, like 60 by 8 meters. And actually, we were so excited about a result that we saw on such a big screen that we understood that there is no turning back, and we want to move in this direction. So in many years, the most interesting project that we accomplished was like a big media gallery in Kiev. It was interesting in the case that we used only one media server and 52 projectors. And all this big media gallery was using firstly TouchDesigner and then the second system Screenberry. So it was like two-system media gallery. Also, it was quite interesting project for America Got Talents 2015 with water screen. Also, we accomplished Jamala's winning performance for Eurovision 2016. And of course, we, as Stefan said, very curious about immersive screens. And in 2017, we accomplished full sphere projection in South Korea. It's called Space 360. Also, in 2017, we started Kiev Lights Festival. It's mapping festival, but due to COVID and war, actually last year's, of course, it's not. It's not. Yeah. It's not happening. Of course. Thank you. And especially, I want to tell that we very excited and curious about dome projections and other curved and complex screens. And from 2007, we developing our media server, Screenberry, and actually from 2017, we made it commercially available. Because before it was like our in-house software just to output the and play back the content. But let me give you some background why we decided to make it. Back in 2005, actually, we discovered that most of the media server systems were quite bulky and quite bulky and hard to configure when you need multi-screen setups. So we have another vision of how media server software should be, and we decided to make our own. So this was the media server software in 2007. It was just Windows XP, I think. Then in 2008, we advanced a little bit. And then actually in 2010, we were asked to make a dome projection. So we faced the question of how we align all the projectors. And actually, First we saw that we can make it manually, but with manual calibration system. But then our experience in computer vision helped us to create automatic camera-based calibration for the DOM screens. And actually, this kind of calibration now is an integral part of Screenberry media server. That was the design of the software in 2009 till 2011. Then we redesigned it heavily, and after 2019, the software right now looks like this. It's quite versatile. Later I will show you what it can. Let me tell you a little bit about what actually features of Screenberry Media Server. What is actually Screenberry? So it's actually like client-server approach. So it's basically two applications. First is a Screenberry control panel. You can run it on any laptop or even on the server side. And the second software is Screenberry Server. So it's the main application that outputs do all the rendering and outputs the content on the screen. Actually, it can be used in various conditions, mostly, for example, as an engine that drives the movie theater or planetarium or concert and other complex events when you need to input and output a lot of things and synchronize them. In the heart of the software is actually quite efficient playback engine. Right now, on most powerful machine, like rack server, it can output up to 16 signals of 4K content. So you can map quite high resolution on a single server. It's actually multi-platform, so for permanent installations we mostly use Linux because it's quite solid. Also we have Windows version, and right now we are testing and preparing the Mac OS version. This is actually one of the main parts of our software. It's a big tool set of manual and automatic projection alignment system. You can map and calibrate align projectors for flat screens, curved screens, dome shapes, different panoramas like caves, buildings, some complex objects. And if you for some installation, automatic calibration can work. For other, manual calibration or some combination of automatic and manual. This is the example of how automatic calibration works. It uses like iterations and starting from like normal overlapping of projectors, and in 10 or 15 minutes you have a smooth screen. And you don't need to do anything. And actually 15 minutes and you have perfectly aligned dome, and you can output the content, TouchDesigner and anything. Also you can use calibration system to map quite complex objects like this skull, or even for full spheres, for example. This is actually the sphere in South Korea. Also, quite powerful feature is show control, because of course it's media server software. So we have quite I think, flexible playlists, timelines, and matrix playlists. So you can actually use not only one media player, for example, and you can set as many video players as you want, create as many playlists, trigger them in different ways. Or if you need, you can create timeline or use a combination of playlists and timelines. Of course, it have 3D scene when you can place your projectors, set up the projection, set up your scene, even run simulations of calibration virtually in 3D space. So you can calibrate a virtual screen without the actual screen to figure out when and how you need to place the projectors. Also, it have node graph to make the logic for output, for triggering content, for output on all the devices that you need, like displays and projectors. And of course, we negotiated with Derivative, and they agreed and let us integrate Touch Engine right when it was released. And actually, right now, you can run natively TOX files inside Screenberry. You can just load it, and they are ready to go. I will tell about this in a few minutes. Okay, so let's move on to TouchDesigner integration with Screenberry. But let me give you some background, actually. Initially, for example, this is the dome screen in Kiev. It's like 23 meters in diameter, and it was calibrated using Screenberry Media Server. And to output the content from TouchDesigner, for example, for music concert, we used a capture card that the signal from one machine was captured by the second machine. The calibration maps were applied in real time, and actually you have the live signal of TouchDesigner on this big dome screen. But actually this approach is not the perfect because it provides some latency. Just a second. Then we used the second approach. We decided to run TouchDesigner and Screenberry on one machine, and actually we exported the calibration maps into TouchDesigner, and actually TouchDesigner were applying all the calibration in real time. But of course, if you need, for example, to play the content, then run some applications on TouchDesigner, you need to switch between the applications, and actually this is not very flexible and actually time-consuming. And actually, that's why integrating of TouchDesigner provides so much freedom in this aspect. Actually, how it works, this integration. You have a node that actually is a touch engine node inside Screenberry. You can select any talks that you want and use, for example, in the scenario when you just output in the node from your talks, or for example, you can use even some complex TouchDesigner scene inside Screenberry, and you can control it from the Screenberry, or you can use Touch Engine inside Screenberry, for example, to process some incoming signal, visual or data from Screenberry and outputting it back. So how it actually works, this integration. For example, you need to create some talks, And actually, the connection with Screenberry makes through inputs in and out nodes from TouchDesigner. So, for example, you create in some inputs, outputs, everything you want to do within the stocks. Then you just create Touch Engine node inside Screenberry, select your talks, expose all the parameters ins and outs, and actually you're good to go. And for example, this example shows how the scene from TouchDesigner applies, the calibration applies to scene of TouchDesigner and outputs to DOM screen. This is also the example how you can control the scene inside TouchDesigner, inside the talks, with the controls or data from Screenberry and output the, for example, some interaction from TouchDesigner or some generative stuff very easily. Also, it's also quite great possibility to use this combination of Screenberry and TouchDesigner for XR stuff. In this case, the 3D camera in Screenberry and TouchDesigner are synchronized and gets the same real-world coordinates, and actually the TouchDesigner, the talks, generates 3D render from this perspective and outputs to Screenberry, and Screenberry actually applies and outputs all the visual information to the LED cave. So you don't need to do anything connected with outputting the signal to mapping the signal in TouchDesigner. You can handle it to Screenberry and use your TouchDesigner just for creative stuff. This is example, output in TouchDesigner like with the camera from previous example on the LED. And actually I have one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I think like 5 years, for 5 years we're developing some new technology. I think for now it's like emerging technology in the LED domain. I think all of you saw the sphere inside, not inside, but in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas. This huge, enormous size of the LED screen. And also there is one smaller screen in other US city, and a couple of LED domes inside, not in Japan, yeah. But actually we considering these screens like a first generation, because it's a this technology tries to apply the standard LED technology to curved screens, and all this screen actually uses trapezoid panels to map to create the curved screen. And actually 5 years from now we started to think about the LED screens of future, and actually we came up with quite different approach that we done and applied the patent. We created actually another also spherical LED technology, but it uses not conventional trapezoid LED clusters, but the triangular, because of actually the problems and issues of first generation screens, like that screens that you saw in Las Vegas and other places, a few places that where these screens are already located. These actually screens have quite a few issues, like let me tell you, the current LED dome and spherical screens consisted like from trapezoid modules, as I said, and you have quite big problems on the poles, because actually the closer to pole you need to make the cluster smaller, and thinner, and then you have hassle there. Also problems with color shifting and quite other problems. You can see the example of how these screens looks in close-up. You can see that it's not perfect on closer to the poles. And actually, 5 years ago, we collaborated with ECTA. So ECTA and Screenberry. ECTA is the Ukrainian company, the developer of LED screens, and actually we created Spherix technology. It's triangular LED modules that can create domes, spheres, other spherical types of screens. You can see there is the triangular module. It actually consists of smaller triangles, and we compared the image from our triangular technology with our reference LED screen, so to match the best possible quality. So this is a photo, and this is the actual technology. You can see that the approach is quite different than used in existing screens. It uses triangular modules, but you can create any spherical shape, and you don't have these problems that have the first generation of LED screens, because you don't have the actual poles. We figure out how to manage and remove color shifting and other stuff, and make our bet to the best image quality on LED possible to match even movie standards by color and other stuff. Actually, the sizes of the screens, we are focusing from 12 meters in diameter to 30, and I think even more is possible. Actually, we created like unified triangular LED modules instead of trapezoid, and you can use them as a constructor to create the different sizes of the screens. Okay, thank you very much. If you want. If you want to try Screenberry with TouchDesigner, or just to see how it works, you can go to Screenberry and try the free version, and actually you can start experimenting with talks and other stuff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That's some very interesting options there. One question was raised from the streaming desk back there. This touch engine integration, would that also work in Linux, or is that a no-go?
We haven't tested in Linux, because I don't know if there is a Linux version of TouchDesigner.
No, No, it's not. That would have been the miracle right there.
It definitely works on Windows.
Yeah, that's good. Do we have questions from the audience? Andrei.
Thank you so much. Do you have like if you say you have a camera calibration on Screenberry, basically, is it needed to have a special camera type, or do you kind of sell it, or how does it work?
You can use Sony, for example, or almost any DSLR or mirrorless camera to calibrate.
Is there a demo version of Screenberry available, and what is the type of price range that we should be thinking about if we're considering using this in our projects?
You can try it for free and go to our website and see what actually proposals are there already.
I was wondering how does it compare price-wise with Disguise, which is, I think, the thing that everybody knows and everybody finds a bit pricey?
Actually, we're not so expensive as these guys. That's definitely.
That's good to know. I was wondering about the TOX integration, because of course, I mean, you said you could load any TOX, but of course we're capable to produce a TOX that... Is there any kind of check mechanism that says, well, this TOX is like toxic, or this is too big, or this eats up too much performance, or is it up to the user to test and...
Yeah, sure. It's up to the user, so he can... it depends, of course, on the machine that you are running, the systems. You can just try your TOX to see the performance and optimize it. And you can, for example, even use the TOXes and place these TOXes as items in playlists or even on timeline, as items on timeline. So it opens quite...
and then the timeline input, I as a user would have to route that into the TOX through inputs.
No, the Screenberry have, for example, timeline or playlist, and for example, you can place their videos, audio, and other stuff. And if you need some of the items would be output from TOX, it can be.
I meant more if you want to have the time which comes from the timeline as an input to your TOX to drive animations or something like that. Would that happen automatically, or is that something that you have to, as the author of the TOX, you have to create an input and then...
You mean to input the time from timeline into the TOX?
For example, yeah, to like input data from Screenberry into the TOX.
You can do it, of course. You can input time, time code, or anything you want, actually.
That's nice. Any more questions? Stephen?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Mine's directly about the touch engine comp. Is there a capacity that you guys have found for Screenberry, or if there's like, if the workflow is that you preload all of the into memory, all of the visuals before you actually perform, or is it like a dynamic system where you can unload and load different visuals as you go? Just kind of trying to understand the extents of...
Actually, the normal approach is to upload all the content before the show, for example, but actually, as you have a dedicated client for controlling all the system, you can do what you want actually to to add more content inside the timeline or inside the playlists, and it will work. Of course, you can't adjust the item that is playing at the moment, but you can adjust and do your adjustments when everything is running.
One more question, going off of Stefan's. The timeline, are you building these timelines inside Screenberry, like after you load all of the content and saving it as like some sort of preset, or how is the timeline being configured between like multi-talks visuals?
I will try to find the example of timeline. Here. So this is like a basic timeline, like in every software that have it, like After Effects or other media server, but you can use, for example, AUX to as a TOX output, and actually, can you detail your question a little bit?
Yeah, so with the touch engine, you're going to have custom parameters. And are you doing most of the timeline preparation inside of the talks itself, or are you doing the timeline prep of like tweening between parameters and presets inside of Screenberry?
I think it's up to you. You can experiment in different approaches because we can cover all the possibilities that integration of toxes inside Screenberry open. So we didn't try everything because you can. I can't even imagine how many approaches can be utilized to to output and to trigger toxes. Sorry.
I had a performance question. So for each of these instances, are you then spinning up a separate instance of Touch Engine for each of these entries, or are they more efficient somehow? Or say, for instance, you have a TouchDesigner talks coming up. Does that mean that it's already getting preloaded, or does it only start to load once the playhead actually reaches that part of the scene?
I think you can do different approach here, because you can use one tox and create all your different comps inside one tox, and then it should be one touch engine instance. And of course, you can, if you will load multiple toxes, it will be multiple touch engine instances.
It also means if you load it as one tox, that you miss out on the editing opportunity, right? That you have there.
You mean editing the tox?
Editing your show as a timeline.
Why?
Because you have one layer that's just kind of continuous.
You can use tox to output multiple signals, for example. Then you can...
Yeah, okay, it's just that visually that doesn't really give you much information, right? Like, looking at your screenshot right there, we have like a nice timeline editor that makes it really easy to see how the show progresses and what changes during the show. And if you would just have one tox that's just the entire show, do you still kind of get this visual feedback in your editing workflow?
You mean to see what is happening inside this tox?
Yeah.
You can just create a video preview for particular tox, and you will be able to see everything that is going on there.
Okay.
Can you timeline values for custom parameters on the toxes? So if you have like a float parameter, for example, can you draw like a keyframe value in the timeline for that?
You have the possibility to create keys for the parameters, but for now we do not created the curve editor for the timeline yet. But you can use the keyframes to animate all the parameters.
I think that would be very attractive for TouchDesigner users, which all have their own issues with the animation editor in TouchDesigner. I think we have time for one more question.
A bit louder. I don't hear everything.
So here we have a question from, two questions from the stream. The first question is if it's possible to export an ST map from the calculated mapping for further use in TouchDesigner on Nuke.
What format?
It doesn't specify.
You can, the question was the ability to export the calibration maps?
The ST map from the calculated mapping. That's all I can read from the chat message.
Actually, I don't know what is ST.
Okay, then we have to relay that message. The second question is pretty quick, if it's possible to do frame lock between different systems.
What systems?
Like the different systems of your software running on different machines.
We have, for now, we have ideology of using a single server, but of course you can use gen lock and frame lock inside this system, or input from like master system. We do have a cluster approach, but it's not so convenient at this moment, and we are working to make it more plug and play.
So, sorry, the question was here, right?
No, I just noticed that a lot of people had technical questions, and for people that are looking forward to using this, do you have any sort of education place where you can go and learn how it works and gives you instructions or videos for this?
Thank you for this question. Actually, as we made this system commercial not so long time ago, we actually at the moment we are working on the short 1 hour course that will help you to dive fast inside the Screenberry. So, thanks.
Yeah, and we're also discussing if we maybe work together on an educational thing, but that's just a maybe. Also, I want to ask Wieland to come forward. I'm sure you all know Wieland. He's the man behind the tech desk, and he has a... So, thank you, Wieland, for connecting us with the worldwide audience and making all of this possible. And Wieland has an issue.
Yeah, it's number 28, not counting our unofficial meetups that we had, and right now I only have 2 arms. And I have a co-pilot, Hashini, but she's also doing quite a lot of other stuff for the Node Institute, and so it's not always possible for Hashimi to be with me at the streaming desk mainly, but we're also taking care of the audio and this. Yeah, what you see here on screen. So my question mainly is, or my request, my call to action is that if anyone's interested, or better, even if someone already has experience in streaming in conference tech and is willing to support us here for the roundtable, then we would be super happy, because especially with new projects coming up, it might not always be possible for me to take care of this 10 times a year, once every month, basically. So yeah, if someone is interested in supporting us, the roundtable here, it's sadly not a paid job. So I have to say that this is us doing work for the community because of our love for you as a community. So in that regard, if you also have a lot of love to give for the community, then get in contact with Stefan maybe as the direct, it's info@thenodeinstitute.org. Yes, okay, so just send an email to info@thenodeinstitute.org, and then we will get in contact. Thank you.
Or please report at the streaming desk. Andrey, thank you very much. We're heading into our next social break, and after that we're going to have another presentation by Rahul Sharma, who's an artist with an architectural background, which I'm very excited about, and looking forward to that presentation. Thank you, and see you at 10. These light flashes, they mean that we are ready for the next presentation, and I kindly ask you to take your seats. And we are ready for the next presentation. It would be kind if you would stop your wonderful conversations and give me the opportunity to introduce our next speaker. It's Rahul Sharma from India. Rahul is now based in Berlin, and he's working as a media artist, exploring the digital and the physical realms through installations and performances, and we're very curious to hear more about that. Thank you for coming, Rahul.
First of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Node Institute and Elastique, for having me tonight. Closer? Okay. Uncomfortable. Okay, so thank you, Node Institute and Elastique, for having me tonight, and also everyone for joining. Okay, so I'm Rahul Sharma. I'm a multimedia artist and an architect based from India, but currently based in Berlin. I specialize in creating diverse experiences, which is ranging from static, dynamic, 2D, 3D, or 4D. Before moving to Berlin, I was working as an architect, and I was working on a diverse range of projects, which was like retail, residential, exhibition, and urban design. And that's where my love for generative design comes from. But my explorations into generative art actually began because of electronic music performances, and especially those by Amon Tobin, No Such Thing, and Flying Lotus. While I didn't witness these performances live, but I was amazed by the amalgamation of how music, tech, and art was coming together. I'm pretty sure there must be some performances before this, but for me, this was kind of the door that opened to me to the possibilities of how music, art, and tech can come together. Despite these performances are like 10 years or almost like a decade old, but for me, they are still very relevant. When I saw them, I was still into architecture school, but I didn't start anything yet. It all came back to me in 2020, and then I started learning TouchDesigner. There's also a very nice article on the derivative page about the Amon Tobin performance. It could be an interesting read. So I started learning TouchDesigner from any online resources that I could find, but my main focus was to create like audio reactive visuals for the music I love to listen. This was interesting for me because I felt that the visuals were falling into a narrative with the sound and not just bouncing on the beats. These occasional practices really helped me to learn how to manipulate data into TouchDesigner by using like a lot of triggers, LFOs, and limits to make the visuals kind of like dancing or like choreographed kind of visuals. For me, it's a very personal choice, but I really like to work with undertones or the textures of a sound because I feel they create the atmosphere of the sound, and I feel I always try to capture like a spatial aspect to my visuals. I really like to work with 3D designs and particles. I try to explore new approaches of natural textures or natural phenomena and trying to create like interrelationship between the real and the virtual. While there are numerous amazing resources online, these are like the few that I've been checking out recently. Like I think B2BK has some amazing techniques using point clouds and 3D scans. Supermarket has some really nice custom particle systems, and I love how Noto uses his PBR to create these crisp visuals, which have like very nice colors. Ben for his process videos, Watershed or Lake to learn about how to use API in TouchDesigner, and of course the derivative page, which helps me a lot to find these project files and components that help me to learn. So while making audio-active visuals, it helped me to get work as designers and artists, and to create music visualizing and NFTs for electronic music. This was one of them. This was for a Dutch label, an artist. The visualizer was created using some footage from the music video, combined with some effects into TD, like engraved lines and etc. Like the color choices were actually considered keeping in mind the club culture, because that was the whole idea of the album. And the NFT was conceptualized around the artwork that was on the album art, which was a transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly. I tried, this is not that organic. It's more of a particle transition, but yeah, that was the idea for the NFT. And sorry, never liked the PowerPoint interface. So there's also another project which will be coming after this. It was for a German label. They wanted to release four remix tracks of a track by Raining Again by Bitoko, and the idea was so the challenge of that project was it wasn't just the visuals, but it was also to create like a look and feel of the product, which was called a digital vinyl. Digital vinyl was an NFT connectable that consisted of exclusive visuals, soundtrack, and stems of the track. So hence we had to think of a vinyl release. This is the one, vinyl release digitally, which would be same for all the future projects. So the visuals also had to be inspired by some liquids and rain. So we tried like a lot of things to come up with to do justice with the whole release, and we finalized on like these visuals, which were using particles and some fluid fields. Also, we create this audio spectrum wheel to replicate the idea of a vinyl into a digital vinyl, and we tried to create an album art which was a bit more 3D and dynamic using image instancing. I can quickly jump into. So this is like how my setups look like. One of the technique that I like, these were all the effects. This is the sound, and these were the color and the album arts for the instancing. And one of the technique that I used was just like, it's a very simple technique with layouting feedback, which created these fractals, and I just remapped them with a noise RAM. Which created these amazing ripples of water, which kind of felt like they were right for the visuals of the album. The most interesting part for me was to actually the height, the kind of instancing that it creates. It's not very natural, but I think it resembles a lot of rain and fluid. My setup for performances are also kind of very similar. So this brings us to the next topic, which is an interactive performance that we did at Flughafen Temple of 100th anniversary. The project was called Samsara, which means the cycle of life and death and reincarnation, and the performance was developed around that similar concept. The main challenge of the performance was like the whole performance was improvised. So we had to set like certain rules to give cues to as well as the performer, as the musicians and the visual artists, so that we can communicate properly all together. It was done using a Connect sensor, and the way we set these rules were like we created these different sections of the whole performance. This was the first section. Creating these sections kind of help us to create a diverse range of intersection, and not just like one particular thing, but also helps the performer to understand, okay, what's visual is happening and how it would react to its body. The first one was kind of very similar to the Lord of the Rings Sauron eye, which was following you around, and it was interacting with the spine of the performer. The second one is about it's a spring wall which was interacting with the hands. The third one was about the form. The fourth one is the space around, which is a geospatial scan of the Ganesha temple near Tempelhof. And the fourth one was the same visual because it's a circle, but this time the conversation was two-way because now the performer knows that there's someone who's looking, and it was a two-way conversation. The setup was pretty simple for this one. So we try to keep the interaction as minimal as we can. We're just using the right hand, the left hand, rotation of right, and the spinal cord spine to interact with the movement. So these were the Connect the Connect point cloud data that I was getting, and these are the sound signals with the various part. So as there wasn't much to control, but just to see that it doesn't, like the reading doesn't go crazy. So that was like the main challenge, and shifting between the visuals. So I didn't have to control much, but just some effects that I was using. And that's it for this project, and this brings us to the next project, which is so having a background in architecture and masters in new media design, I wanted to combine both of these fields. And one of the reading that really helped me to connect architecture and new media was by Lev Manovich, and it's called Poetics of Augmented Space. It was about the influence of digital screens on the city, and not just the facade, but also the portable devices that we carry around, and how these displays influence us. Also, they get the data from the physical world and provide us digitally. And so with this, I actually began to research more into this topic, and I found this very interesting quote by William J. Michel, which says how data is antispatial. It is antispatial because it can be plotted on planes or can be used to produce diagrams, but it's fundamentally antispatial because it doesn't have any proportion. It's not like it's a Berlin Tower or it's Brandenburg Tower. It has you can still find information in it, but it doesn't have any proportions or shape of itself. So hence the idea of antispatial was born. I had a chance to exhibit antispatial at 3 different locations with 3 different project models. One was Alexanderplatz, Cottbusser and Flughafen Tempelhof. And the antispatial, it explores the idea of how data can reflect and define urban narratives. It was a simple interface of 2 screens, one with the top view and one with the front view of the model, and I integrated this leap motion interaction to replicate the idea of how, when you are exploring cities and when you are moving around. So I was in this whole project, like each iteration was different, and I still feel like it's an evolving process. But I used four different kinds of data sets. One was like geospatial data, which I got through Google Earth, and by using this external plugin called RenderDoc, I was able to export that into Blender, and then I had to clean it, which kind of took like forever. And the point clouds react. There was also tweets that I was getting, and the point cloud reacts to each pulse or the kind of tweets that I was getting. The tweets were filtered through some keywords and through some like city or location names. There was also images which I was getting through image search, which I was filtering through some keywords. They were influencing the color of the landscape, like the RGB values were actually influencing how the colors of the temperature of the datascape looked like. And yeah, there was geospatial. There was also the weather data. I was also using weather data which was interacting to different noise fields. Like there was temperature, precipitation, humidity, etc. And it was creating like a very dynamic and interesting way of how different data sets were coming together and creating a visual in it. Let me show you this. So there were two different tweets that Twitter fetch that I was using. One was for the pulse and the counts, and the other one was for the text that I was getting in the tweets. The leap motion was using a simple interaction of X and Z axis to move around and Y axis to rotate and your view. There was also a sound interaction, but I'll talk about it into the next project because I think that would be more relevant. For the point cloud, I was using the same Blender model. As the model wasn't dense enough, so I had to use a sprinkle SOP to create extra points into it. And these were like some interface, some icons to help a person or a visitor to understand how to work with the piece. So this brings us to the last project, which I got to this exhibit at Catalyst University, and it's untangible. It's a dynamic data painting that converts real-time weather data into an audio-visual piece. This was using like 4 different cities around the world. I wanted to use 7 because one for each continent, but my system could only handle 4 at that time. So it was reacting to like different parameters. The main challenge in this project was the sound, like how I can work with the sound and how the sound could work with like data. And this one resource that I really found interesting was How to Audio in TouchDesigner by Owen, and it kind of helped me to understand how to work with sound into TouchDesigner. So this is like my 4 cities. It's for the weather interaction. I was getting these data from the API and using it to manipulate some noise fields and some flexes to create these layers of visuals changing. And this was similar for all the other 3 cities as well. But Mumbai and Tokyo had a very different visual than Berlin and London, so that was interacting a bit in a bit different way. But coming to the sound part, so the visuals were different for each city, but I had to create like one sound which could actually work for the whole visual, and that was so I was just as the visuals were switching, the sounds were also switching. I was playing with just some number of pulses and the width of the pulses to create. To merge them with some field recordings. And the similar way I was using audio oscillators to warp them and also merge them with some other field recordings that I did. Interestingly, it created like a very nice ambience with the whole piece. But one problem or challenge that I still face with this setup is like when the data resets after every 10 minutes. And that's when there's a little glitch that comes into the play. Visually it's not visible, but when it comes to the sound, you can actually hear that reset happening. So if you have any suggestions, I would be open for it. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Impressive presentation.
Thank you.
Also very good timing. So, do we have questions from the audience for Rahul? There.
Hey Rahul, so first of all, great presentation, really well put together. Question as an artist, you know, I just wanted to ask you, because I've been following your work for a while and really nice to see you here now. But there's a lot of work that you showed today that I haven't seen, even as someone who follows you for a while. So I'm just wondering, how do you get out there and how are you getting some of these projects as an independent artist?
I think it's always a challenge, but like firstly, I think Instagram kind of helped me to reach the audience who like the kind of stuff that I make, and also the kind of music that I like. But then also, I think it's like a word of mouth thing that keeps on going, and I'm mostly it's like a chain that kind of helps me to get the projects. I don't think there is a rule book for that. If there is, then I would be happy to read it, but I think that's just how it goes.
Any more questions? No, that was just a random move. Okay. Here.
Hi, it was really, really interesting. Thank you for showing those. For the dancing, how did you map? Because the dancer was not using any sensors, right?
Yes, I think I forgot to talk about, but I was using a Connect sensor, which was I was using to track the hands, the spine, and the form of the body, like a 360 Connect sensor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So that would also mean that the dancer only had a small range to act in, or could you implement that with a?
There was a small range, and that was kind of that was a challenge. So the movements were also kind of designed or thought of in that way, that how like certain movements could show a big impact on the visual, and also create like a harmony between, because it was more about the conversation between the visual and the performer. Because from the beginning there was like a kind of a higher power or being that was looking at that person, and that was the whole like the concept behind it. But yeah, it was a bit tight space in terms of using like how the range of the Connect was. But there was it was a huge stage, so I think it didn't felt like it was a bit more compact.
And did you have opportunity to enhance this through rehearsals, or did you have to jump in there?
We actually had quite a few rehearsals, but it was every time it was improvised. So I think that we set some ground rules. Okay, these cues would help us to figure out these things, and it took a while and hit and try to figure out how to work the audio as well as the sensor data that I'm getting. And I was just trying to make things as simple as possible, because I know how Connect can be a bit tricky at like crucial points. So that was the idea.
Thank you. Any more questions? Well, if not, then I'm sure Rahul will be happy to talk to you in a less public setting while having a drink. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
It was very inspiring.
Thank you.
Now, before I release you into the next social break, there's a few things that I would say on behalf of the Note Institute. We're at the moment planning our next season. It's going to start in April, but of course we need to fix the program much earlier. We have a very interesting range of instructors, but I still wanted to say if any of you is watching what we do, for example, with the intermediate courses and feels like, oh, there's maybe something missing, I would really like to contribute, or please just talk to me or to Hashini. We'd be very happy to feel you out and see if there's a good place in this season or maybe in the next season to bring more interesting learning opportunities to the community. Talking about opportunities, we also felt like we should include these three things that crossed our eyes. These are three job opportunities. They go from, they cover all the range. So the first one is an internship at Schnelle Bunte Bilder. This is not super interactively thought, but programming knowledge in V4 or TouchDesigner definitely makes you a more attractive candidate. The next level of escalation would be on the next slide. White Void, you'll know them for their amazing kinetic installations. They're using TouchDesigner backend developer, and they asked us to share this information with you, and maybe some of you are interested in that. I know some of you have been there, maybe some others want to go there. And last but not least, let's call it the icing of the cake. There is this very nice professorship at Burg Giebichenstein in Halle for the design of digital spaces and extended reality. And I think that could be also very attractive for some people of the community with an academic track record. And yeah, with this beautiful QR code, I have to thank again Elastique and the whole team at Elastique, and especially Daniel, who you know, we've been talking for years about doing something together like this, and now it's finally happened here at Elastique, and it was, I think, so far a great evening, which is not over yet, but thank you so much for having us, and thank you all for coming and supporting us, and with these warm words, I hope to see you the next time.